The person you are trying to reach is not accepting calls at this time. Please record a message starting with a 2-second pause. Say send when finished.
Cassie, I wish you'd pick up. I'm not even sure if this is your comm address anymore. I could really use some help here. Something happened. Been waiting for a good day to tell you about it. I guess you're gone, though. I know this doesn't really affect you after all this time, but you're gonna hear about a tragedy at the orbital I work at. I wanted you to hear it from me first. I'm okay, but really desperate for a safe person to talk to here. I always count on you to be straight with me. Can use some validation before I break. I know I've been gone for a long time. Can we have a conversation? I'm at an all-time low here. Please call me back. Give Aurora my love. Send.
I'll tell you the truth, this place isn't what it used to be. I used to be able to get in here with an hour's notice, and now the prices have gone up and the service...
We only have seating at the singles. Is that okay? Lunch rush.
It's fine.
Ma'am?
Would you stop picking at the damn thing? Won't heal if you keep at it.
I'm not poking. I am adjusting.
We ain't got any bounty money left to get you another new neck if you fuck this one up. You forget there's still scattershot in my backside from dragging your ass out of that firefight?
But it don't feel right. You try getting used to a new voice box.
Excuse me. Can you move your bag, please, sir?
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
Plates are available at the start of the line along with utensils. Have you been to a buffet before? We have a special seasonal line of new Nashville-inspired...
Got it.
Okay. If you have any questions, let me know.
Hold up. Let me dust it off for you. Weren't many folks in here when we came in.
Little dirt won't hurt.
Probably a little more than dirt, but suit yourself. You okay? You look pretty beat.
Beat? He looks like hell.
I've had better days.
Where are you headed?
Terminal.
Long ride ahead of you. Name's Grant, by the way. This here, Barfly.
Anton. Wait, how'd you end up with the name like Barfly?
Well, you see, his dad was a bartender and his mom was a 12-year bottle of scotch.
Hey, that's only half true.
You're right. Bathtub gin was probably closer to the mark.
Never mind him. What are you going out to Terminal for?
Got a lead on some work. You?
We're headed to Curiosity.
Never been. Any highlights?
Not much. Typical station fare.
Headed there for any specific reason, then?
Work. You know, like you.
Ah, well. I'll let you get back to it. Going to eat before I have to head out again. Thanks for the seat.
No problem.
Isn't it about time we got out of here? any longer and you're gonna give it away talking to people.
It's not like we're the only ones looking, you know.
Either way, don't need any more competition.
We aren't getting anywhere by ourselves. What's the last good lead we had, huh? Your last source, if you can call it such, didn't give us anything useful.
Beats your form of intelligence gathering. You attract more flies with honey than with whiskey.
Don't you dare finish that sentence.
Okay. Sorry.
So this work is Preston Jorgenson, huh?
Damn it, Grant. I knew that. Shit. Well, okay. So what if we are?
Nothing. Find it funny is all.
Funny? There's nothing funny about Jorgenson. Rat bastard hurt a lot of people with the shit he pulled. You can't just introduce something intertwined with survival and expect there's not going to be some sort of consequences when it suddenly disappears.
He's acting like a kid that took their ball home when others wouldn't play by their shitty rules.
I didn't mean anything by it. Besides, I don't disagree with you.
Then what's funny about it, Anton?
The fact people are all worked up trying to find a person to pin all their problems on. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it isn't a productive way to go about it.
So what if it isn't?
It's been a few years since I headed this far out, but you can see the scattered carcass of Yukon and the harm it's caused. People depend on that company for a myriad of different reasons, some more serious than others. Yukon was a godsend to them. To others, no better than the devil. Thing is, trying to pin the words, "I'm guilty," on the chest of a ghost does little good. Take it from experience.
And you think it'd be better to let sleeping dogs lie?
In a manner of speaking, yes. Look, there's a big picture. You have people upset over stupid shit. What reasonable person throws a fit for needing to get off their lazy ass to go buy something? I feel bad for the people working the counters in the face of this shit.
You talking about that way station market footage that's all over the line?
Ridiculous. No more sapling prime deliveries of Yukon Crunch Crisps, so they go ballistic on a clerk when they can't buy any.
Now that was a riot. He pulled that clerk over the counter like it was nothing. Ooh, damn. That's smarts, Grant. But, yeah, it wasn't right. You shouldn't laugh at it.
You shouldn't. There has been a distinct decrease in civility.
Civility? How about basic decency? For fuck's sake, crackers don't matter. No reason to go mad over it. Damn crisps don't taste any better than cardboard anyway.
But have you tried the jalapeno popper flavor?
Are they any good?
I wouldn't hijack a ship for them, but I might fight someone for a box.
What I'm getting at is no one is trying to sort things out. More problems are being caused because things aren't as easy as tapping a damn button. Focusing on Jorgenson won't fix entitlement. But hell, if you end up finding him, give the bastard one for me.
A crisp?
Forget it.
I'm messing with you, man. Need to keep him in one piece if we're going to collect the bounty.
Which one?
Whoa, what do you mean, which one?
There's at least a dozen I've heard about.
What in the... you mean beyond what the marshals are offering?
Did we forget to register somewhere?
Yeah, though it's speculation based on the messes he left behind.
It can't be that many. There's no way they wouldn't be widely known, I mean.
Because so many people know who's behind that 3.4 million.
Who even has the scratch for that?
Man had enemies, and worse. Debt collectors, business rivals, manufacturers, intellectual property holders, former employees. It's not a short list.
Oh yeah, but still.
Might be there's a long list, but how many are just spinning half-truths to confuse the competition?
There's truth and skepticism. People are only out for themselves.
That's bleak.
I prefer realistic.
Never mind all that. Which bounties are legit?
Outside of the one from the Marshals and the Shadowy Cabal? He skipped out on that trial for personal damages on that orbital off Neptune's class action suit. That group's pissed. Especially after he vanished not long after the verdict.
Gotta be a big settlement if they're sending folks after him. Wouldn't you be angry too?
It's not always about revenge. Sometimes it's about finding justice where you can.
Also murmurs of a bounty from someone he traded an unspecified amount of decentralized funds with for Yukon stock tips. Probably turned out about as well as you think it did for them. Scuttlebutt is the USEC is interested too. What else? Heard in passing, the Louvre is paying a pretty penny for the return of several art pieces they loaned to him.
The Louvre?
Art museum on Luna? There's a grain of truth to that one. Man prided himself on holding significant pieces of human history. It's public record the museum would loan him pieces after he donated the funds for that last expansion. Oh, then there's the traveling troupe willing to pay for his location. Hoping he'll grant them the rights to adapt his life story into a play, as if it were a monarch's tragedy whose serfs rebelled against him. Paint him as the pious ruler he is.
That one's gotta be flat out bullshit.
You can't be serious. How much are they paying, though?
I bet it's a king's ransom. Only a fool would jest about such a thing.
Yeah, so what's the number?
What are you talking about?
You know, kings collect taxes from people that can't afford them, have annoying shits in costumes jumping around that think they're funny. No, nothing. Don't know art history? Fucking swear, forget it.
What are you getting at, exactly?
All the bounty gossip is a testament of how well Jorgenson kept the image of Yukon clean. Like Eris before terraforming. All pristine on the surface, dark and corrosive underneath.
We just ignoring the amount?
If there's an ice comet's chance in hell of finding him, he deserves his comeuppance.
I get it. Though if you want to take a shot at lining your pockets should your efforts fail, the casinos have better odds on who's behind the mystery door.
Guess so.
That's throwing good money after bad.
And how much have you spent so far on this altruistic endeavor?
Well, you see, it's
Nothing.
Oh, I'm not judging you. Hope tracking him down doesn't prove too troublesome for you two. PJ goes pretty far in anything he does. Don't really know the depth he'd be willing to go if it's coming from a place of faith lost in humanity. Not that the rest of us have the privilege of running away.
Yeah? You know this how?
I know that he goes to great lengths to protect his image, so if he's gone, he's left little in his wake to locate.
You're spouting nonsense. Not like you have some sort of history with Jorgenson.
Do you really have to insult everyone you meet, or is there a quota per day?
You can't tell me he actually knows anything about PJ.
If a guy goes as far to shutter a subsidiary of his darling company and start it again under a new name to avoid bad PR, I can't fathom the length he'd go to protect his own privacy, especially if he's motivated.
And what's that mean?
Have you ever heard of the company called Recon?
Yeah?
How about Scout?
They both make different Atmo components, so what?
And don't the names seem similar?
Scout conducts recon.
Ding, ding, ding! Give the man a prize! Ever notice that Scout parts fit without any sort of modification or retrofit to Recon hardware? Doesn't that seem suspect?
Not really. Tons of companies make parts the same or better than OEM.
Even if the part numbers are the same? Or how about if the patents seamlessly passed over from Recon to Scout the day the latter was incorporated? And all the assets? The workforce? Inventory? Contracts?
Are you saying what I think you're saying? That Yukon would evaporate an existing business at the drop of a hat to avoid looking bad?
Nah, I wouldn't say at the drop of a hat, but fast and without much effort.
It can't be that simple.
How would you even know something like that? First-hand experience? That has to require a ton of people and money.
Yeah. Something Yukon has, had in spades.
Ain't that only the start? You're simplifying it a little here.
Not really. Yukon and by extension PJ had more money than the next 9 billionaires combined. You think that kind of capital doesn't carry some kind of gravitas?
Obviously it does. But that don't mean they'd break every rule to do what they want.
Hey, even if Tony was telling a story, he wouldn't be far off the mark.
It's Anton. Yukon used its immense reserves to buy influence. With the people paid off, it could do whatever it wanted.
Look, I'm as critical of capitalist dogma as the next belter, but there are systems in place.
Not saying there isn't. Only saying that if you wield your gigantic share of the system's economy like a weapon, cutting through red tape is easier than taking a plasma torch to a pop can. Money speaks louder than good decisions. Tell me again, what are you doing out here?
Now, hold on. That is not fair.
Do you see where I'm coming from, though?
I suppose. Fine, go on.
Let me tell you a story, then. A story of a man in his 20s entering the corporate workforce. Barely getting the job on his merits. He had to prove himself by working long hours, saying yes to everything. Making coffee, getting food. If you could name grunt work, he did it.
A gopher of sorts.
Essentially. He worked hard, hoping one day to put himself in a position to earn enough for a comfortable life. A life that was just beginning as he had a budding family.
So can we stop beating around the bush here? The man is you, ain't it?
Good, you picked up on that. Wasn't sure how long I could keep up that third-person act.
We can go if he's going to act like this.
I'm interested in hearing where he's going with this story. Keep going, stranger.
Being young meant that I was mostly taken advantage of by those above me. Lots of work was shoveled my way. It did hone my skills, however.
Skills?
Logistics. I got really good at managing not only my time, but how all the pieces work together. Implemented ways to be more efficient, amongst other improvements. Which, of course, my bosses took all the credit for.
Did you really see it going any other way?
Honestly, yeah. I thought if they didn't value my contributions, I'd find another place that would.
Oh, you naive child.
You're right. Finally in the promotion I worked so hard for, but turns out pissing off the relative of a senior VP meant a promotion wasn't so much of a promotion after all. It came with a mandatory move to a distribution orbital near Saturn. Became regional director of operations.
Wouldn't that actually be a promotion?
For most people, sure. Calling it a regional director was some sort of joke, because I only managed the one satellite. The meager raise was insulting to even me at the time, but I was thankful I wasn't outright fired by someone's perceived slight.
And you took the relocation, even though you didn't really want to?
Reluctantly, but I was contracted. Once you're under a Yukon-owned contract, you essentially have to die to get out of it. But there are other, less permanent ways.
Internal note to never work for a corp.
The culture. That's the worst bit. For instance, the person responsible for my promotion got a little more than a title and more money. I called it karma. They called it unfair.
Kinda sounds like it comes with the territory.
It does. But when I say I was doing the job of 4 people, I'm not exaggerating. And the void left by my transfer meant someone had to pick up the slack. Guess who it fell on?
The prick?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. He didn't find it so funny, though.
So, someone was mad at you. Why is that a big deal?
Didn't register as one back then. It took me a while to realize what was going on.
Going on?
I can see where this is headed.
Didn't think much of it at first. Seemed like normal requests. Pressure to hit absurd goals, labor and maintenance cutbacks. I'd seen it before, so I figured corporate was just doing its normal bullshit.
It ended up not being so normal then. When did it take a turn?
About the time some corporate-ordered changes were started. Under previous management, the facility liked to hide injuries and safety complaints. They were flexible in their responses. I didn't subscribe to that. Instead, I did my best to protect my employees.
Meaning you weren't an asshole boss.
In my own eyes. For a time.
I get a feeling there's more.
It came at me from an angle I didn't expect. See, when the company has to pay out more money than is deemed acceptable for injuries and sees a slowdown in productivity, it draws attention. A drop in metrics opened a window.
How'd that end up coming back on you?
Performance shortfalls were being blamed on my replacement. Before long, requests to my station became more unreasonable. People were fired without notice. New employees were shipped in without my say-so. A lot of small things that, had I been wiser, I might have picked up on. Figured it was retaliation, but there wasn't a whole lot I can do about it.
You say that, but surely you could have fought harder. Maybe you could have suggested a union, quietly, maybe?
You don't understand how much weight Recon threw at union busting.
About as much as any other business kowtowing to shareholders?
Do you know how many orientation videos you have to watch your first week?
I don't know. 6?
One a day?
36. Guess how many have anti-union propaganda?
Can't be that many.
Come on, take a stab at it.
5?
2?
35. They even shoehorned it into the sexual harassment video.
What? Who even does that?
Isn't that a form of harassment in its own way?
Right? Regardless, there was more trouble bubbling. Masked under everything was something worse.
Seems like they were already giving you plenty of trouble. I mean, what's the worst that they could have done? Terminated your contract?
The corporation? No. An asshole with a grudge is a different thing altogether.
What, they held up your performance bonus?
Started as murmurs of unsafe working conditions. Turns out some of the replacements brought in weren't there to work at all. There was an accident. Hello? I'm here for the 1500?
Mr. Proctor, right?
Mr. Jorgenson?
In the flesh? Do you know why we summoned you here, Mr. Proctor?
I have an idea, but no clue why you're here, sir.
Simple. I've come to clean up your mess.
My mess? You mean the accident? But that wasn't my fault.
Whether it was directly your fault or not, you were the section manager. The responsibility falls on you. You will answer for this unequivocally, or face severe consequences. Recon will not tarnish the image of Yukon due to your inaction. We are going through great lengths to fix your mistakes, of which acceptance is mandatory.
I didn't...
No, if you'll excuse me, I'm going on a walkabout to observe what else may require my attention. Kensington and Masters will go over the details of your separation. Good day, Mr. Proctor.
That's some shit. Sorry, man.
When you're saying accident, what do you mean exactly?
It was all over the line years back, but I'd rather not go into detail if it's all the same to you.
It was that bad?
Yep. And I had to bear the burden for all of it. Things were a blur for a bit after. There were some stipulations on my contract termination. Some I negotiated for, others I had no choice but to accept. They drew up an NDA, which I'm guessing is expired now. Promised not to press charges in exchange for my silence.
You're not giving us a lot to go on here. Why would they be talking about getting the law involved?
I signed it, was unceremoniously fired, and took the blame.
We talking machine failures that cost the greedy bastards some money?
Gotta give PJ some credit, though. He was intimately connected to the entire corporate umbrella. Didn't believe he was too good to get his hands metaphorically dirty.
Wait, were people
He
hurt?
was swift to take care of anything that would make him or his empire look bad. He had this habit of popping in at different locations, coming in without a word to get rid of anything that wasn't in lockstep with his vision. We'd be told he'd be going on visionary refreshers, or to respites on Les Duplessis.
Stop avoiding the question.
Never had a clue he was coming.
Grant.
No docking warnings, no station announcements, nothing. But that's what I was saying about him before, covering his tracks. If he'd go that far to get the jump on unsuspecting employees, then...
Don't tell me people under your watch...
I remember one
How
time...
bad
I took
was
all
it?
the managers
Grant,
in my office.
drop it.
The first one I mean. On a summit retreat. He was piloting his yacht and...
Stop changing the
couldn't
subject.
even make it out from the rest of the black because the way it was painted. Some sort of bending with the light.
How could you stand by and let that happen? You rolled over and you know it. If I was you, I'd be cracking skulls to set things right. I wouldn't be a coward quaking in my...
Coward? How can you?
Both of you, stop it. Look at him. Let it go.
What would cracking skulls do for the families? Fuck all, that's what. I tried to do the best I could. What was right for them, as meager as it was. Let me tell you something. It isn't easy to be morally just with the weight of a corporate behemoth suffocating you. I may not have been at fault, but it was my responsibility to rectify it. Whatever perceived blame hoisted upon me by some pissant is what ultimately cost those people their lives. I couldn't change that. I took the best option I had at the time and shouldered the burden. Fucked up as it was. At least that way, they had something.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that came from a place that, well, it wasn't so much you as it was me.
It's fine. Isn't a day goes by that I don't think about that decision. Nothing you say is going to make it any worse.
Excuse me a moment. I think I need some air.
So, guessing losing your job wasn't the only consequence?
There were a couple. One that I won't go into after that little outburst. Another ends up with me looking for work out in the terminal. As you can imagine, I became persona non grata.
Easier to blacklist someone than admit any fault on their own.
The company didn't loudly announce it was my fault publicly, but behind doors. I was actually fine with that at the time. It was the smallest problem I had in that moment. Biggest were the aggrieved in the weeks after.
What do you mean?
They wanted answers. After everything was signed and statements made, those looking for the truth had a target for their vitriol. And everyone involved was gracious enough to point them in my direction. A real person they could hurt with words. And sometimes actions.
But can you blame them for wanting someone to be accountable? Or give them some kind of straight answer?
Honestly, I don't know. Even now. I wanted so badly to tell them how it really was. Who they should really show all those frustrations and sorrows they were feeling. But I couldn't. Couldn't do anything to ease their suffering.
Well, why the hell not? They had to see what was going on. You weren't in the wrong.
But it was my moral obligation. If I went against the words Recon wrapped around my neck, that would endanger what little compensation received to ease their hardship, if even only temporarily.
It wasn't on you. Shouldn't have been on you.
Maybe. But I caved to the threat. Sold myself out in real time as my failure unfolded. And they wouldn't let me leave until all the settlements were paid out and the investigation completed.
Investigation. Yeah, right.
Not that it mattered what they said. Eventually, everything turned surreal. I couldn't leave my lodgings on the station for fear of being confronted. And I was. By the people who I thought I knew, and they knew me. By the family members seeking answers I couldn't give.
How could you make her work in those conditions? You knew it was gonna break. What if it was—
Ma'am, if you could just sign here, we can deposit the funds into your account.
I'm not signing anything until this sorry excuse for a person that admits what he did. He killed my daughter!
As I explained to you before, Recon, its parent company, and by extension, its employee, Mr. Proctor, claim no fault for the events that occurred at Orbital RCN 242. The payment is offered because Recon values its family members and the contributions they make. We consider this payment fair for what—
Fair? What's fair about any of this? I travel all the way out here to collect what? Money and a cold metal box? I get some hollow gesture because some inept asshole cut corners to take home a little more in his paycheck? Is he paying for this? What does Recon value his contributions at?
We're unable to speak on the employment details between the company and Mr. Proctor. If you would like, we can provide how we came to evaluation for
You're
your...
gonna sit there and say nothing. You don't even show any remorse for what you've taken from us. You might be replaceable, but their lives aren't.
Mr. Proctor, if you would?
Please accept my condolences for your loss. Know that we, here at Recon, thank them for their hard work and dedication. I'm sorry.
You're sorry? Sorry? You're pathetic. I hope you feel pain 1,000 times worse than what I am. You should have everything taken from you, just like my daughter was taken from me. Give me that. Here's your damn signature.
I took all of the shit those families threw at me. Bottled up every last fucking emotion I had to get through it.
So what, you gave up? You could have fought back.
I didn't want to be a fucking punching bag. I wanted it to fucking end. These people couldn't come to terms with their loss, so that means I should have to offer false hope to make the abuse they hurled my way bearable? Fuck you! Don't you think I had my fair share of guilt? Of pain? Regrets? They weren't the only people that lost something.
That's not what I meant. You never mentioned there was that much to it.
The day PJ fired me, I knew what he said was true. I railed against the idea that I was to blame. How could I be? But you know what? He was right. Absolutely right. That smug bastard. By my hand or not, I had to be held accountable. Pay for my sins. By blood or guilt. And so I do.
Looks like we're both making fools out of ourselves today.
Ugh. You heard that?
Where you put your foot in your mouth just like I did? Yeah.
Look, I was upset, and I didn't think he was as upset as
That's
he was.
right. You didn't think. Neither did I. We owe you an apology. Didn't mean to insinuate you didn't do enough, especially me. I acted all high and mighty when I am no different than you.
Don't worry about it. Point of the story was that PJ will drag a person through hell for even a slight smirch upon his creation. So he'll go much, much further when it comes to him feeling slighted by everyone. He won't be easy to find.
Good to know. I think, that suffering you've been dealing with is hard to shake. Mistakes from our past follow us, always on the tip of recollection for what seems like forever. The big ones, anyway. Hiding from them might make you feel better for a time, but a person can't live closed off forever. When it comes down to making peace with it, it can only be done once you forgive yourself.
You make it sound so easy.
It ain't, believe me. Won't happen all at once, but stewing in it, hoping it will, ain't healthy. It might take a bit of purpose to work through the pain, Hasn't been easy for me, but it beats being cooped up with nothing but a bottle to keep you company. Hell, I'm still working on this. Don't even know why I'm preaching at you. Maybe if I run into you again, I'll share some wisdom if I find my way to the other side. Can share one bit of something somebody told me once. You need to go out there and do whatever you need to do to sort yourself out. That's worth thinking on.
Grant, we best be going. Need to pick up some supplies before we take off.
If, you don't have a location to check, you might want to look around Saturn. Pay close attention to any reading anomalies you get on your scopes if you look at the retrograde moons.
Hey, excuse me, waitress.
PJ took us out to one of his thinking spots during the retreat I mentioned earlier. Might find something isn't quite right with one of them.
Thanks for that. And Anton,
Yeah?
if you find yourself in a speck of trouble on terminal, tell Cassie that you and I met. Can't promise she'll go easy on you, but it can't hurt.
But don't get too friendly or ask about their boots.
What?
Ignore him, the wagon pup. Best of luck to you, friend. Might not mean much coming from someone like me, but I hope things get better. Now come on, Barfly.
Good luck on the job, Tony.
Good hunting.
Well, you think that's a good lead?
Best one we got so far.
Huh. Don't remember the last time someone spoke to me like that. Do whatever you need to do.